Oh, you like turning creatures sideways, do ya? Well, mono green is the way to do it in standard as it is right now. Let's jump in, check out the deck list, see some games, talk through all the things you should be considering, and kick some ass. Mono green aggro coming right up. Hello everybody, today we are going to be talking about mono green. That's right, the deck that Cedric Phillips has been screaming about all over the place, mono green. This deck is all about slamming creatures to the ground and turning them sideways to get that win. Really, there's not a lot of thinking that comes through. I don't want to call this a brainless deck, but it is very much a smash and grab kind of a thing. What's nice is that the ramp is pretty organic as you run through this, so the goal is to try and build a hand that can get things out on turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then turn 4 you're pretty much fine from there. But your ideal start would be like a Pelt Collector, for instance, to try and get him to grow as you grow. Otherwise, you could potentially play a turn 1 Stonecoil Serpent. What's nice about Stonecoil Serpent is that he is a mutate target. In the sideboard, you'll notice we'll have a Gemrazer. When you mutate on top of something, you also get all the stats that come underneath it. All the +1 counters for Stonecoil are going to go onto your Gemrazer, so you'll make a 5/5. You'll also kill some stuff. So Stonecoil Serpent, someone that you can be taking advantage of with Gemrazer in your sideboard. But realistically, between the Lovestruck Beast here, where you can create a 1/1, between Pelt Collector, between Stonecoil Serpent, that's your ideal turn 1 play, is one of those things. Turn 2, you kind of get your choice of a Barkhide Troll or a Scavenging Ooze. Realistically, if you have both, you would want to be playing your Scavenging Ooze first, more than likely, because with your Barkhide, if you're going to play him on turn 3, for instance, having a mana available to take advantage of his ability to get hexproof with this counter is very nice. So ideally, you would be playing your Scavenging Ooze second, your Barkhide third, but again, that depends on your matchup. If you see that you need to be doing damage faster, potentially want to get your Barkhide in earlier and take the risk that something bad happens. So beyond all of that, like your creatures, you're just slamming them down. What's nice about Garruk's Harbinger is a couple things. So first, he's hexproof from black. Since Sultai is pretty much like the deck these days, this will protect you from things like Eliminate and all the other fun removal spells. So he can kind of stand on the board a little bit protected from that. Aside from that, he's just a 3-drop that also has 4 power, so he also helps grow your Pelt Collector, for instance. So he's very much a nuisance for the other team. If he gets his attack through, you also get to draw a creature card of your choice, which is super fun. And then of course you've got Questing Beast in here, who's just awesome. As far as removal, basically what you have is Primal Might and Vivien. So Primal Might, I'm sure you're familiar with. This is your grow a creature to the size of God himself and then smack somebody else. So this is a way you can remove somebody from the board. Obviously, someone like a Lovestruck Beast is a great candidate for this since they're so beefy and chunky. However, don't be afraid to use your Primal Mights when the enemy has very low creatures, like a 1/1 Innkeeper, for instance. Don't be afraid to blow a Primal Might to kill an important low-level creature. So if you're going against like Temur Elementals, for instance, getting rid of a Risen Reef would be very much worth wasting a 0 cost Primal Might on just to remove it from the board. Just get rid of these things that you don't want on the board. Otherwise, you want to be saving them to go over the top of something. So if they've got a creature that's bigger than yours, Primal Might them and put them in their place, everything's fine. Vivien, very similar. This is allowing you to make your own creatures bigger, but then also have them destroy other creatures on the other side. Some fun thing to know is that with Vivien, if you use Vivien on a Questing Beast, for instance, since he has Death Touch, doesn't matter how much stronger the other creature is. Since Questing Beast has Death Touch, he's just going to kill the thing on the other side no matter what it is. So always be aware that these two together play very, very nicely. And of course, we've got some Mobilized Districts in here because you can turn them into creatures. So if you have a hand that's completely dry, you can turn a Mobilized District into a thing. Keep smacking. So name of the game. On the sideboard, we have a couple things for a couple of reasons. So Ram Through is in here because if you need even more creature removal than the Primal Might and the Vivien that we have in the deck already, you can throw in some Ram Throughs. This will allow you to do some instant speed creature combat action. Again, this is just your creature doing damage to somebody else, so Questing Beast is always the ideal candidate for this. He's going to guarantee kill whatever he shoots at. Super fun. Gemrazer, you would want to sub in if you see that your opponent is running something that uses artifacts or enchantments fairly heavily. So, if the enemy has a Stonecoil Serpent, for instance, you can use Gemrazer to kill that artifact creature. If you're going against like Temur Adventures, for instance, you could use it to kill like a Lucky Clover. So that's always fun. But Gemrazer's really in there on the sideboard these days because destroying enchantments or artifacts isn't as required by default. Aside from that, we have Oakhame Adversary. Didn't say that right, but he's a death touch boy who costs very little, so if you see you're going against a green team, this is going to allow you to get him on the board very easily. And of course, if you get some damage through, you get to draw a card. He also has death touch, so he's a nice way of removing some big thick boys, so like you could use him against an Uro, for instance, is probably your most ideal scenario. That's just going to get rid of that guy altogether. Super great. And then Shifting Ceratops, you've got this if you're just trying to get rid of blue stuff. So if you're going against blue, he can't be countered on the way out. He has protection from things like Brazen Borrower or Aether Gust. After the fact, you can Aether Gust this card as it's coming out, but once it's on the board, you can't. So that's super fun. And then of course, if you have enough mana, you can give it some little tricks. Reach, Trample, Haste. Shifting Ceratops is amazing if you're going against anything blue. Blue is extremely used in tons and tons of decks. You see it in Demure Flash, you see it in Sultai Ramp, you see it in Azorius Control, you see it in Yorion Control. It's like you see it in everything. So Shifting Ceratops, an amazing sub-in card. And then you've got the Great Henge. The Great Henge, of course, is if you see a game is going to potentially go longer, then Great Henge is going to be a really great way to try and refill your board fairly quickly. Every time you play a creature, you get to draw a card. So drawing a card in the later game, just think of this, you have like 7 mana, for instance. You play a card, you get to draw a card, you get to play a card, you get to draw a card. You can probably do this a handful of times. And you'll have a decent amount of mana to do this because you'll have the Castle Garenbrig with you to get you a bunch of mana. And then you'll also have the Henge itself, which gives you even more mana, plus you're gaining life. So I have this in the sideboard. Basically, you need to pull these things in when you see that they make sense. But the main deck in and of itself is just smash stuff, put it on the board, turn them sideways. So that's the deck. Let's actually play some games. All right, whenever you're given the choice, of course you always go first, because who the hell doesn't want to go first? Starting hands. So this starting hand has no creatures aside from Barkhide, which is not ideal, because as we said before, you kind of want to get on the ground running early. So admittedly, I'm tempted to mulligan this because I have nothing to play on turn 1, yet we have 3 cards we could be playing on turn 1. I hate giving up 3 lands, but lo and behold, the game rewards us with basically a perfect curve here. I'm going to keep this and chuck a... I'm going to chuck a forest, because Primal Might is going to be very useful to get things out on the board. Hopefully we grab a 3rd land in here so we can get our Pelt Collector nice and chunky. But again, turn 1 Pelt Collector, turn 2 Scavenging Ooze, turn 3 Stonecoil would be the ideal curve out. So again, we've got the scenario I straight up said we were going to run into. We've got Ooze and we've got Barkhide. Ooze is a 2/2, so Ooze is going to get your Pelt Collector up 1. And since Barkhide is a 3/3, when it jumps on the board, you'll be able to get your Pelt Collector up again. So obviously, if you can, this is the way you'd want to go. I have no reason to think I need to get stuff out faster than this. So far, so good. Our enemy is running, I'm going to guess a Demure Flash deck. That's going to be my guess. We didn't grab our land, and we do need to be somewhat concerned with flooding the board with stuff, because if we actually get Extinction Evented in a couple turns, for instance, we're going to cry a little bit. All right, so we've got some level of control sitting in the other deck. This is totally fine. I think we're gonna slow down a little bit. Instead of continuing to slam creatures, let's take advantage of the fact that we can use Ooze, and Ooze can make himself thicker, and we'll gain some life in the process, because I anticipate that there is an extinction event in our future. So let's eat. Munchy munch. And swing in. Let's see what they do to this. All right, it doesn't appear as though they're playing Flash, because we would have seen something in response to that. What I'm going to do is eat their graveyard, because I haven't seen green yet, but assuming they might be playing Sultai anyway, they probably have an Uro. Anything we can do to eat their graveyard is going to be sweet. Shark Typhoon, not so interesting. Don't super care. I guess they just wanted to cycle for cards? I'm guessing they're hurting for answers that they want to have. A tap land is useful to us. This gives us yet another turn. But let's eat their graveyard. Since the game, or the turn, is over, there's no harm in spending our hard-earned mana eating cards. Let's eat them. I'm gonna save the Primal Might here because I'm anticipating there's an extinction event in our future. So I think what we're going to do here is just swing in with what we got, see what happens. Because I anticipate their next turn, what they're going to do is extinction event away these two. That's my guess. So I'm going to leave these creature cards in my hand so we have something to slap down once we get a chance. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I'm rewarded for my genius here. Also, big ups to See-Through Shirts when you chroma key the color green. Super hot right now. A Crisis. Okay, so we like this because we can Primal Might through a Crisis. In fact, if we get another land, I think we have lethal. We straight up don't because the game hates us, but we can lay some hurt on them pretty good. It's very unfortunate that we didn't grab a land right there, but let's thicken up this guy. Let's smack down them. This is our creature removal that we spoke of. One land away. Oh, our opponent didn't like it anyway. Hell yeah, we didn't even have to earn that win. We just get it. All right, so what did we learn from that game? What are we sideboarding in? We're gonna bring in some Shifting Ceratops for sure. I don't see anything that says I need to like load my board with it. I'm gonna keep Garruk's Harbinger in there because we definitely see some black spells getting chucked around. I don't like them. So what do I want to get rid of here? I say we bring in some shifting. Let's take out a Stonecoil and a Lovestruck. I think that's good. That hurts our early game a little bit. Actually, as I say that out loud, I don't know if I love that decision. Let's bring back in the Lovestruck. Let's take out a Vivien, because they're not really playing a ton of creatures from what I've seen. So we can depend on our Primal Mights a little bit here. You know what? Let's take out both Viviens and bring in the other Stonecoil. This will be good. So we've lost our Vivien in order to do this, but from what I've gathered, the enemy doesn't seem to react well to having stuff on the board, and they're not playing a ton of stuff themselves. So aside from the Crisis, there was really nothing else to react to. I think we're looking pretty good here. And again, the advantage of mono green against this kind of a deck is that you're trying to get in damage early on them. You want to get underneath them. So if you're allowing the game to persist past turn like 6, 7, that's when things are starting to get pretty dangerous. If the enemy isn't really, really hurt early, like you're probably going to have problems. Like it's not going to be a fun time for you. So let's see if we can sneak in yet another nice ramp, our nice little damage ramp. We're going to find out. We don't get to go first though, so it's a little less exciting. All right, this hand again is not something I would keep because we have no creatures aside from a 4-drop. 4-drop, not something that we want to have. Let's mulligan. This hand is fine. I'm going to keep this one. I say, as much as I don't want to chuck the Shifting Ceratops, I say we chuck it because we don't have the mana to play it yet, and we're going to depend on grabbing another. Is that the way we want to go? I say we take out... Ooh, it's so tough. Oh, my life. It's one of these two for sure. We only have 2 Ceratops in the deck. We have 3 of these Harbingers, but we do have a better chance of getting one of these down. I'm going to say we pull out the Shifting, as much as I really super don't want to. And of course we grab a land, so hooray for us. We're going to get a creature down. It doesn't matter that it's a 1/1. We don't care, we just want board presence. We need to have stuff on the board for them to react to. I don't love playing Barkhide Troll with exactly 2 mana because, again, you can't get rid of his counter to get him hexproof. Not ideal. We grabbed another Ceratops because the game loves us. Hells yes. Let's see if the opponent wants to waste a removal spell on one of these 2. So far, they're cool with it. They can't cycle this shark token onto the board. So it's in a removal spell or nothing. What do they got? It's going to be a removal spell. Or they're holding the removal spell. Okay, they hold the removal spell. Totally fine. We're actually in a really nice spot because we've got 2 creatures down. We have 2 creatures in hand. We have mana. We've got Primal Might. We pretty much have all the tools we want right now. The only thing that would make this even sweeter is if we can pull yet another mana and then we're in the promised land. Let's see what we got. He's staring at my Barkhide Troll. We're gonna cry a little bit if he kills it. Time to pour one out for our homies. Oh, they let it happen. Oh, hell yeah. They don't have the black mana to do a extinction event. I'm tempted to play the Harbinger. I say we force them to have it. Let's see what they do. I don't love this because I can't remove Hexproof from my Barkhide Troll, and next turn they could very much cast Extinction Event. The only thing going for us is that we do have a mix of odd and even here, so they're not going to be able to like clean wipe us if they do it. Otherwise they need to pull multiple removal spells. So I'm guessing they're debating on an Aether Gust right now. No? Apparently they're fine with all of this. Okay. We turn them sideways and we see what happens. And what happens is the enemy takes damage. Turning things sideways is great. All right, if he pulls a swamp here, we know an extinction event is coming. Let's find out. Swamp equals extinction. There it is. Here it comes. What's he gonna play, guys? It's a huge mystery. We're never gonna know. Oh my god, it's an extinction event. Who saw this coming? Nobody saw this coming. Extinction event happens, we lose our Harbinger, which is totally fine. Now, here's the bigger question. We have the option of playing a Shifting Ceratops. However, realistically, it's not a great time to cast it, because if we get Shifting Ceratops out now, we're removing his can't be countered ability. So like, they don't have mana to counter anything anyway. So playing a Shifting Ceratops now, we're not totally taking advantage of the card. If they have another extinction event, they would wipe out all three of them in the next move. So we're gonna just turn them sideways. We're gonna let them play something. Let's give them something to react to. Also, the nice thing about this is that since extinction event is sorcery speed, we can play the mana, get Shifting Ceratops down, give it haste. So next turn they won't take 4, we could make them take 9. Not quite lethal, but they're not happy about it. Them just straight passing their turn to me would be wild. Okay. Okay. The other nice thing about Lovestruck Beast against Extinction Event is that we've got 2 evens and we can cast an odd. So that is also pretty useful. I'm gonna... I say we start mixing up the board state a little bit now. Because in order to get rid of this, they're gonna need to have an Extinction Event and multiple removal spells. And next turn we're gonna set ourselves up for a Shifting Ceratops slam. So if we can get some damage in here, keep them busy. We're gonna exile our Lovestruck Beast. I mean, that's fine. We're gonna cry just a little bit. So he's kind of been waiting to do that for a little bit. But next turn we have lethal. And we have lethal in a couple different ways. We have a Shifting Ceratops we can haste lethal, or we have Primal Might just pump somebody up real thick and kill them lethal. So right now, the enemy is presenting weirdness. They're leaving the board totally open. So this is them telling me they have a removal spell of some kind. They shock that land onto the ground. They don't have anything for Casualties of War. Not enough mana, I should say. Or they have exactly enough mana? I believe that's a 6 mana spell. What do we do? I say we turn them sideways and see what their plan is. I think that's the only reasonable thing to do in this scenario. Show me why this isn't lethal, opponent. Because you have a shark token? That was your plan? We could have won, guys. That's pretty sad. So they sacrifice this. Okay. We got them down nice and low. Let's keep that lethal on the board and see what they want to do about it. They pretty much need to be constantly answering something. We have the mana to make this guy hexproof, so that part's fun. It's a Krasis, great. So they completely tapped out to cast a Krasis. We get the win. We get to throw a Primal Might at them and watch them die. Primal Might, we go up for 4. We point it at their Krasis. We watch them concede. We say good game, and that is how Primal Green rolls, baby. Put them down, crush them out. Lesson learned from this match when you're watching it, absolutely be aware of removal spells that your enemy is running. You saw me hold back on throwing down a shit ton of creatures because obviously you do not want to flood the board with everything just so they can cast an extinction event and make you completely useless. You have to show some level of restraint with mono green against a deck like this because removal is going to ruin you. And if you get completely top decked at this point, like, you're not going to win. It's going to be impossible. They're going to have better answers to everything. You're going to play one creature at a time. It's not going to be enough. So an alternative thing, I could have sideboarded in a Henge. That would be a way of getting back into this game. But from what we saw in the first game, we didn't necessarily need to bring in a whole bunch to try and beat this deck. So slap them down, show some restraint if they're showing a lot of removal, win the game. Mono green, baby. All right, opponent goes first. This hand is fine. We have a 1, a 2, and a 3 drop with enough mana to cast them all. And we're in the mirror, baby. We're either in a mirror match or we are straight up dealing with Teamer Adventures. Let's find out. Oh, the excitement. Do we trade? Not yet. Let's see what else you got. An Ooze. Okay, so they're literally the exact same deck we are. The problem we have is that they went first. So we're gonna have to deal with that. We can Primal Might away their token, but that does waste our turn ever so slightly. Let's get this down now. We have the ability to shoot over the Lovestruck Beast, so there's no reason to do this. I'm not willing to trade just yet. So let's get our Pelt Collector a little thicker. Let's get some more mana down. When they cast their Lovestruck Beast this turn, we have the opportunity to kill it in a couple turns. So we are going to take some damage along the way, but our patience will hopefully be rewarded. The thing that's going against us is that they're going to get to turn stuff sideways faster than us. Not a fan. All right, so they decided to Primal Might early. Totally fine strategy. Since they've got their Ooze down and we don't, they get to eat all the spoils of the victory. So that part not fun for us either. Do we trade it now? Tempted. Super tempted. I say yeah. Let's get rid of it now. They had no ability to make it thicker. Totally fine. Now we can cast our own Ooze and do Ooze things like eat their Ooze. Super fun. If I wanted to be a prick, I could have just Primal Mighted their 1/1 token to prevent the Lovestruck Beast, but realistically, we're kind of hoping they cast the Lovestruck Beast so we can Primal Might through it. That'll be just fine. There it is. All right, and we have double Primal Might, so the game is extra incentivizing us to do this play. The only thing that they might have that could ruin our life would be a Ranger's Guile, but they straight up do not. So we kill the Lovestruck Beast. Unfortunately, we can't attack because we're going to get killed and we don't have enough mana to eat. So we say, that was fun, move on to the next turn. Next turn, we can munch a bunch of stuff if we want. Scavenging Ooze is super good at this. The enemies decided that they're going to eat everything, so now we have to Primal Might their guy. All of this is generally okay at this point. We're going to have the board state advantage, which is fine. We can Primal Might over this Scavenging Ooze. They are going to gain some health in the process, and they're eating cards that we want to eat, which makes us cry a little bit. They're keeping a mana open. Interesting. Let's see. Nothing in their graveyard, nothing in our graveyard. So Primal Mighting over them will be fun. If they have Ranger's Guile, we'd cry a little bit. But let's see. So we're going to go super over the top here. Super over the top, so they can't make this guy any thicker. So we just need 2 to get over it, and if we spend 2, we have enough to cast a creature after the fact. So let's go with that play. This isn't going to allow us to go over the top and attack still, which I would have preferred to do, but I think getting something on the board is important right now. So let's eat. And then attack. Believe they're gonna just take it. Okay. We've dealt the first big hit of the game, guys. We're moving forward. We're getting this puppy down. Pelt Collector is good news, because we are definitely bigger than that. Vivien, less good news, because they can make it thicker. Can't say I enjoy that. We still have nothing in our graveyard we can eat from them or us. So let the thickening begin.
Stopping time.
Questing Beast is an amazing draw because we are about to super hurt their Vivien. That's not quite good game, but that definitely makes them really upset. So they could double block the Ooze to kill it, which is probably their best plan. Questing Beast, you always go face because he's going to absolutely ensure that the person gets hurt. The question is, do we send the Ooze after Vivien or not? My opinion is not, because they need to get creatures down in order to do things. They could minus it though, but they're not going to be able to because Questing Beast is going to hit it. So let's send it this way. They could double block to kill the Ooze, but that's their only play. There you go. So we're going to remove 2 creatures. We're going to get the Vivien down super far. We have another Ooze we can cast after this, which is going to make our life super nice because we get to eat all that stuff we just killed. So Vivien's going to make that thing stronger. I think we're all sorts of going to trade our Questing Beast for their Harbinger this next turn. Straight up is going to be what happens. In theory, we could have made a 6/6 Stonecoil Serpent, but that's really only going to work for a little bit. So we're going to do this. We'll put the Ooze out there to keep his munch on. He's a very snacky guy. We're going to save the Stonecoil. We're going to trade this. So they block this with the Harbinger, and they don't like it, but they have to do it because there's literally no reason not to. My dude's got vigilance and therefore happiness. Let's keep eating. I'll eat just 1. Let's let the enemy think we might have something in our hand that's helpful. We straight up don't, but let's let them think that maybe we do. Nice and thick Pelt Collector, hooray. My turn. My turn. Okay, another Ooze. Wow. This game really wants us to eat. Do we keep eating or do we make another thick boy? I say we make another thick boy. 6 is enough that they have to respect it. Let's send this at the Arkbow and see what their response to that is. Okay. They don't want to lose the Arkbow. So this puts us in a really nice spot. They have nothing on the board right now. They do have enough to minus it, but it would have to be a Lovestruck Beast in order to be strong enough. So we overwhelmed them. So in the mirror, we were totally fine there. What are we going to trade in the mirror? Well, a Gemrazer is potentially useful to get a very thick Stonecoil. That's pretty useful. Great Henge could be the differentiator though. If we end up stalemating, a Henge could be the difference between us winning or us losing. Additional creature removal is also probably going to be useful since they are extremely creature dependent, of course. We're not going against anything here that would tell me that we need a Harbinger in place. As much as I love the card, I think we're okay without it. So I think we just throw in a Henge and a couple ran-throughs and we're probably good. I'll trade a Barkhide for it. This should probably be fine. Again, in the mirror, creatures are the entirety of the deck. If we can just remove creatures from their side, we're going to be sitting in a pretty good spot. This hand isn't awful. It's not great. We keep it and pray that the mana comes. Okay, they didn't have a turn 1 drop, which immediately makes us happy because we can go Pelt Collector this turn. They're probably going to cast the Barkhide or a Scavenging Ooze this turn. There's a Barkhide. It's almost like we play this deck ourselves, guys, and we know how it works. It's almost like that. We give ourselves a 2/2 Pelt Collector. We say no attack. Next turn, we can Primal Might over that Barkhide Troll, unless they decide to remove counters. Let's see if they spend all that mana or not. They do. And they're going to kill our Stonecoil in the process. Not fun, but such is life. We let that through. This is where Gemrazer again can make the thickness. The thickness is super great. This is kind of a wasted turn since we don't have the mana to go all the way with it, but let's see what we can do. Next turn we'll be able to not only cast a Lovestruck Beast, but also Primal Might theirs. Let's see what other creatures we need to react to. A Questing Beast, great. So first target for this is going to have to be the Gemrazer. We don't love it, but we have to do it. And then we Primal Might for free. We can't pay 1, so we can trade it. That's rough. And the other guy's got Trample. I think we are not in a great spot. We can't wait till next turn, so we have to do this now. Question is do we want the Gemrazer going or do we want the Questing Beast going? Questing Beast is a problem. We can cast our own Questing Beast next turn. We just need to survive next turn. Questing Beast doesn't have Trample. So I say we go for the Gemrazer. They can't cast yet another hasted troop here. So that's useful. We don't attack, so we've got somebody who can kill the Questing Beast. If they have a Primal Might, we just die. So let's see. Oh, ram through. Just as good. Not quite just as good, but fairly good. Alright. So this is an opportunity where we die. There's pretty much no coming back from this. I can cast a Questing Beast, but it's not really gonna get me to live. It kinda will, but not really. If I get Questing Beast down, I can at least trade the Questing Beasts. And we have a blocker. I guess that's pretty much our only play right now. You have to trade the Questing Beast. Because we're either trading it now or we're trading it later. Okay, we're trading it later apparently. This is where if he gets a Primal Might, he just wins. If he doesn't get a Primal Might, we are about to lose, but not quite losing. Okay. This is fine. So we do the trade, and we have to block here. We are certainly dead next turn, but let's see. Have to do that. We have to do that because we need bodies down. We absolutely lose, but let's just pay some mana to kill a thing so we feel good about ourselves. Look at us doing productive things. And then we say good game because it's already over. First turn matters, guys. First turn in the mirror is everything. I don't think I would change anything though. The Gemrazer did make things slightly annoying to get thicker creatures, but I think that is also reducing the number of bodies on the board. So while it does have some advantage, it's not necessarily better. It does create thick boys, but we do have ways of removing thick boys with our Questing Beast and our Ram Through. So I think we're going to be okay here. It's really going to depend on how good of a first hand can we grab. The curving is super important for this deck. So if we get a initial hand with some curve, which we do, and we have a removal spell, we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. Pretty good. We're gonna go first turn with the Lovestruck, so that way we get a 1/1 down and we can potentially make our Stonecoils a little bit thicker. The fact that our opponent is mulliganing is good news for us, since the number of creatures you have is very important. We're gonna pretend that that means they're suffering. Okay, they make their own. We have all the mana we could possibly desire. Let's make a 2/2 so we can start swinging in unless they have something. Do I trade? Do I offer the trade? I don't think so. Another trick with Stonecoil is if you lose your 1/1, you can theoretically make a 1/1 Stonecoil Serpent. It's a thing you could do, but I think we're not going to. So we've got our Lovestruck down, which is very good. I'm curious what the enemy is holding on to. I'm guessing it's a Primal Might and a bunch of thick creatures. All right, they just wanted their own thick creature down, but we have a Primal Might answer to that. So we're gonna Primal Might this guy. I think we go for just one. Two. Let's go for two so we can still swing in with it. Next, swing in. So they obviously, wow, they do not. Interesting. I thought for sure they would block there. That probably means they have another Lovestruck in their hand. Just a Gemrazer. Okay. We do have thickness. Oh, the Henge. Oh, the Henge, guys. This is exactly what we wanted. All right, we will play the Henge. Do we play it now? Probably now is a very safe time to do it. So let's do it. And this is how you win games, guys. We just have advantage now. Every time we play a creature, it's slightly thicker. And every time we get to draw more cards, we are very much in a happy place. And the fact that they used their Gemrazer already is beautiful because their Gemrazer would have killed this Great Henge. But since they mutated before it dropped, we're in a very good spot. As I say this, they mutate yet again because they super don't like the fact that I have a Great Henge. Excellent. Ooh. Ooh. They got both. Super exciting. Very fine. All right. Now the question is, do we eat a lot? I think we eat a lot. Knowing that they have lots of creatures and some of those creatures are Scavenging Ooze, we want to get some munching in. Munching is a good time. Now we're nice and thick. We go over them. We have enough mana to make a Super Serpent later. We can swing in with both here. Again, we need to get as much damage in as we possibly can. So this is fine. I'm not sure what the opponent is planning to do, but we shall see. In theory, I could have got a Stonecoil down just to add extra pressure. Super doesn't matter. We just kill them anyway. So that's the mirror. As you can see, going first is insanely important in the mirror. So it's really going to be a 50-50. If you can't go first, then you're really going to have to optimize what kind of hand you have. You have to make sure you curve perfectly and have some Primal Mights in your hand. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems for sure. Otherwise, just again, remember the interactions that are going on. You need to get rid of creatures on their board, so substituting in more creature removal, definitely super nice. And there you have it, guys. Mono green aggro. It is kind of the best aggro deck as far as standard is concerned right now. I find it to be much more versatile than mono red. I find it to be very beefy and is able to get in quick. So if you're going against ramp decks, it's very good. If you're going against Teamer Adventures, you have all kinds of removals that you can sideboard in with Gemrazer. You have Henge in there in case you need to go longer. You have all the answers to all of the things. It really comes down to making sure your initial hand has the ramp that you need as far as the creature power. But that's mono green. Your games are going to be nice and quick, and hopefully you get some wins. It's extremely competitive. As you've seen, Cedric Phillips again went like top 6, I believe. So it's not like you can't win with it. You can win a lot. Hopefully mono green suits you well. I love you guys. I will see you in a future video. Talk to you next time. Goodbye.